Ever feel like there's maybe more? More to our history, perhaps, or our spirituality, even the dangers we face, than what we usually see or talk about.
Yeah, like there's a hidden layer beneath the surface.
Exactly. If that thought ever crosses your mind, well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the deep dive.
This is where we take source material you're curious about, maybe something complex or unusual, and really dig into it.
We pull out the key insights, save you some time, and hopefully offer a fresh way of looking at things.
And today, our deep dive is into a really extraordinary account. It's presented as a personal story, a claimed encounter with, well, beings from another planet.
So our focus today is on what this account says is its main message for us, for humanity.
Right, and also the specific ideas about spirituality it presents, the version of Earth's history it lays out.
And the dangers it claims exist right here on our own planet. It's quite a mix.
It really is. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, so the author kicks things off with a pretty strong statement, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He's very clear from the start. This is not science fiction, no fantasy here.
He insists it's a factual record of things that actually happened to him.
And his whole goal, he says, is just to get this message of truth out there to everyone. No racial or religious agenda.
It definitely sets a unique tone right away. You know you're in for something different.
And that first encounter he describes is interesting. He meets this being, different size, but he immediately senses intelligence, goodness even.
Yeah, in her smile, he says. And it creates this instant ease, like, okay, we can connect.
Which is fascinating, right? This idea that maybe some core things like kindness can be understood across huge differences.
And things get, well, stranger.
Well,
He talks about meeting people from a parallel universe.
that's right. Beings who've apparently been there for thousands and thousands of years.
But it's not exactly a friendly chat over coffee. He mentions having to, well, kill some of them.
For safety, yeah. It immediately raises questions about what that parallel place is like, doesn't it? The dangers involved.
Definitely. And this idea of liberation from physical bodies there, that the cycle continues.
It does make you think, like you mentioned before we started, about some religious ideas, maybe. Hell or purgatory, that kind of thing.
Sort of echoes those themes, yeah.
Oh.
Even in this completely out there story.
Which is interesting in itself, how these extraordinary narratives can still touch on concepts familiar to us.
So the journey doesn't stop there. He talks about leaving Earth, traveling incredibly fast, faster than light.
Seeing Saturn, other planets.
And then, just as mysteriously, he's back, returning to Earth.
And what does he see? These spheres descending. Spacecraft, essentially.
Over a city, a river, a hill, linked to underground bunkers almost.
With inhabitants coming out of these dark openings. It's quite a visual.
And then bang, he's suddenly back in his own body, lying on a bunk, then rejoins the crew.
It's such a rapid, disorienting sequence. Really challenges your sense of, well, normal reality.
And connecting those spheres to later scenes, where he sees people on Earth practically worshiping similar craft.
Right, that contrast is striking. Advanced tech, primitive reaction. It speaks volumes about different levels of development, maybe?
Then the narrative shifts gear completely. It gets really dramatic, quite disturbing, actually.
You mean the scene on the beach?
Yeah. Atomic destruction, people fleeing, and then these giant red ants appear.
The size of cows, he says, attacking armed men.
The description is graphic, how they sever a man with their mandibles. It's brutal.
And the crew he's with, they take samples, right? And immediately think radiation caused this mutation.
Yes, that's their theory, which paints this really stark picture of, self-inflicted catastrophe.
And the horrifying forms life could take afterwards. It definitely hits that danger on Earth theme hard.
Absolutely. It's not just a monster story. It feels like a warning embedded in the narrative.
A symbol of what could happen if we misuse certain technologies.
His observations continue on this apparently devastated Earth. He uses special cameras at night.
And sees people horribly disfigured, attributed to radiation again.
With incredibly short lifespans estimated, like 19 years old for one woman, he describes.
But then he also sees people who look normal, athletic young men.
Yet even they show problems, like atrophied genitals, suggesting procreation is difficult, even though there are children around.
Yeah, the implication seems to be some kind of selective breeding, maybe stud males, just to keep the population going. It's bleak.
It really emphasizes the potential long-term, maybe irreversible damage from whatever catastrophe happened. Another layer of danger.
A fundamental disruption to life itself.
Amidst all this, though, there's a shift. He encounters beings, Latoli and Biastra.
Who understand his thoughts directly, telepathy.
Exactly. Explained as a way past language barriers. But then the surprise.
The Arabic numerals.
Right, on their monitors. And they say, oh yeah, that's our system. We took it to Earth.
That throws a wrench in conventional history, doesn't it? Suggests a much older, deeper connection.
It makes you wonder what else might have been shared or influenced.
Totally. Then comes the meal experience. Floating trays.
Yellowish liquid, hydromel, and this white granulated stuff, manna.
Which he finds surprisingly tasty and filling.
And it leads him to this funny thought, maybe this planet, Thiaouba, is just populated by women, space Amazons.
Which his guide Thiao finds amusing.
Yeah, she corrects him later after taking him to a relaxation room, this Hallis place.
It really shows how we filter the unknown through our own experiences and biases, right?
For sure. His assumption about gender.
And the explanation that they're beyond our binary concept with their own reproductive methods, that's a big challenge to preconceived ideas.
It forces you to think outside the box about what human or intelligent life could even mean.
Which leads perfectly into the next big section, the history lesson.
Ah, yes, the alternative history of Earth, according to Thiao.
It starts with Bakaratini, a planet destroyed by atomic war over 1 million years ago.
1,350,000 years, the text says. And the Thiaoubans stepped in to help survivors.
Repopulating Earth, guiding them subtly, dreams, telepathy, maybe a voice from the heavens kind of thing.
Earth was different then, megafauna, different plants.
And they introduced new species, sunflowers, maize, wheat, goats, kangaroos even.
Then came the first humans, according to this story.
Yeah.
Black and yellow races from Bakaratini.
And they initially set up a really successful society, it seems, both materially and spiritually organized.
Belief in reincarnation, the Tachyon cult. Governance based on wisdom and integrity, not money or family.
They explored, settled Australia, even Antarctica, which was apparently temperate then, and had advanced tech-light anti-gravity vehicles.
That's a sort of golden age, it sounds like. Very different from our history books.
Completely different. It suggests a much older, more advanced, and spiritually focused origin for human civilization on Earth.
But, as often happens in stories like this, it didn't last.
No. Divisions arose specifically over beliefs about reincarnation.
Leading to emigration, conflict, the fair political system collapsed.
Priests took control, leading to corruption and injustice, the classic power struggle.
And the Thiaoubans felt they couldn't just march in and fix it.
Right.
Because the priests were powerful, suspicious.
So they opted for a covert operation, using a tool sphere and collective hallucination to evacuate the good people from the holy city.
Leaving the corrupt priests behind to be destroyed in a way that looked like a miracle to everyone else.
It's a tricky ethical area, that kind of intervention, isn't it? Even if the intent was good.
Definitely raises questions. But apparently reestablished good relations. And then the yellow race migrated, drawn by this chariot of fire event.
Leading to the first physical mixing of the races in North Africa.
So after all that internal strife, then comes an external threat.
The asteroid. A massive one, spotted by astronomers.
Heading straight for Earth. Both the black and yellow races had spacecraft by then and prepared to evacuate.
They calculated the impact zone, the time, but then it accelerated unexpectedly.
Came an hour early. Chaos. They scrambled to reach a warp or gravitational hole over Europe.
But the asteroid broke up, entering the atmosphere. 3 pieces.
And the smallest piece hit where the Red Sea is now. But the damage was immense.
Most spacecraft were caught in the backwash, bombarded. Only 7 ships escaped Earth altogether.
Just 7. 3 black, 4 yellow, a tiny remnant.
And the impact's aftermath was catastrophic. A whole new continent pushed up in the Pacific.
Volcanoes, poisonous gases, especially in Australia, wiping out almost everyone and everything there. Only 180 survivors, it says.
Just devastating. A planetary reset, almost.
And from that devastation, the narrative gives its version of creation.
Right. Before anything, just darkness and the spirit.
And the spirit, through sheer will, basically causes a big bang, an atomic explosion, creating everything.
Why? To satisfy spiritual need. To experience things through a material universe.
And the text is very clear. This isn't about Earth's religions. Those are seen as distorted versions.
Illogical distortions, yeah. This is presented as the fundamental truth behind existence.
Which sets the stage for the author's actual arrival on Thiaouba.
Described as this incredibly beautiful, lumino-vapor golden place, like plunging into light.
He sees more spheres, docks, learns the giant egg shapes are buildings.
And gets warned about the gravity, lower than Earth's. He'd weigh less, about 47 kilos instead of 70.
Easy to lose your balance, they warn him. And something about a color effect. Thiaooba cure colors.
Then he starts exploring. Trees at weird heights, traveling on a flying platform, a lativok.
Through this amazing forest, luminous undergrowth.
And giant butterflies, meter-wide wingspans, incredible colors described.
Jade antenna, silver and gold rings. Sounds stunning.
And the light is intense, crystalline. Birds everywhere, unafraid, vibrant colors. Macaws, birds of paradise, hummingbird types.
It's painted as a paradise, really.
And the sound, or rather, the music.
Ah, yeah. Not instruments, but vibrations. From insects combined with light reflecting off certain plants.
Shinoxi plants. It's just part of the environment, normally unnoticed unless you tune in, but essential, apparently.
Imagine if it stopped. What would happen?
The account implies it would be bad. Then they're flying over water, a huge bay.
12 meters up, seeing islands, fish following their shadow.
And they encounter flying people, using devices on their waists and hands to negate gravity and steer.
A Tara and a Litiolak. Just flying around under their own power. Incredible.
Then they visit one of the little eggs, a habitation.
Half-buried, egg-shaped like the big ones. Off-white shell. No obvious doors or windows.
But the walls can become transparent from the inside, not the outside, though.
Some kind of magnetic field tech mimicking natural forces, linked to the aura and etheric fields. An external light shows where to enter.
Inside, it's described as magnificent, a miniature swimming pool made of green porphyry.
With a matching basin and a porphyry swan whose beak controls the water. Very elegant.
And yes, there's drinkable water, plus concentrated foods, fish, vegetables, excellent quality.
And food just appears on a tray when Thiao speaks.
Mm.
Delicious, nourishing, different from earth food. And the manna from the ship goes well with it.
After eating, they head back to the beach on the platform.
And he notices other dwellings, people bathing or strolling. Realizes the platform isn't how people normally get around there.
Then Thiao seems preoccupied, distracted as they walk along a path.
And because of the lower gravity, the author misjudges a jump.
Has to grab a tree to stop himself falling, a little reminder of being off-world.
Which leads them to a very significant meeting, a large doko, 100 meters across.
And inside, 7 beings seated in a semicircle. The theory.
They resemble Thiao, but look older, more serious, longer hair.
And their eyes seem lit from within. Strong golden halos, auras around their heads.
The author's awestruck. They seem to radiate light, sitting lotus-style on different colored seats.
Thiao has colors too, but less brilliant. And the author notes he instinctively thinks of the theory as he, because they're so imposing, but means no offense.
He recognizes the colors are their auras.
And the leader speaks, explains why the author was chosen.
To visit, take back messages, offer enlightenment on Earth. The timing is crucial, apparently.
After millennia of darkness, and now Earth's technology is accelerating rapidly.
And their auras flash, it says, with a dirty red when they talk about materialism.
That's the key danger they identify. Not nukes, primarily, but materialism. The endless chase for money, power, possessions.
They explain their role as guardians, guides, sometimes punishers, for planets like Earth.
And they deliver the core teaching, the key to the mystery.
Which is?
That the spirit created everything material to satisfy a spiritual need. The universe is for spiritual experience.
And the universe operates on the number 9. Solar systems ideally have 9 planets.
And there's a fourth force that inserts a tiny part of the spirit into a human body. That's the astral body.
1/9 of the essential human connected to a higher self.
Right, and the higher self sends 1/9 of itself into a body that's the astral being. The other 8/9 might be in other bodies simultaneously.
Wow, okay, so this higher self, it intervenes sometimes.
Apparently. Those weird coincidences, the taxi breaking down just before an accident, the miraculous escape, that's the higher self protecting the physical body.
Preventing premature death so the astral body can complete its learning.
Exactly. It can trigger adrenaline for strength, communicate through the cerebral canal, especially during sleep. Dreams are important.
Sleep is when the astral body gets instructions, regenerates, finds solutions.
And throughout life, the astral body sends all its experiences, its sensations, back to the higher self.
Which then pass through a filter of 9 higher selves.
Before reaching this great etheric ocean around the spirit itself.
Materialistic sensations are harder to filter, they say. Spiritual experiences enrich the astral body, help it evolve.
Until eventually, the higher self has nothing left to filter. That signifies huge spiritual progress.
And Thiaooba itself. They're nearly perfect, materially and spiritually.
But still have a role. As a superior planet, they guide others, sometimes help materially with their tech, like a father guiding a child.
They mention the Russians photographing the aura.
As a start, yeah, but very basic understanding compared to them. Reading the aura is more important for the psyche than just physical healing.
Because Earth's biggest problems, they say, are in the psyche.
We mistakenly prioritize the physical body over the psyche, but the psyche part of the eternal astral body is what truly matters and influences the physical.
So cultivating the mind, the spirit, accelerates progress through the whole cycle of lives.
Makes sense within their framework. Then the author reflects on beauty.
Recalls describing an Earth island as an inebriation for the eyes.
And Thao says Earth's beauty is even greater, then tells him to rest.
After resting, they're flying again. He's still squinting a bit in the light.
Back on the Lativic, others flying independently. Everyone seems happy, except the Thiaouri, who maintain that benevolent seriousness.
And then they see more strange creatures. Collar giraffes.
And horses with the heads of beautiful women. Some even have wings.
And they cry out in a recognizable human language.
Apparently. And the Thiaoubans have a pleasant exchange with them. Just another day on Thiaouba, it seems.
They're flying over a plain, less lush vegetation, ancient volcanoes, large white birds.
And they meet a large group of Thiaoubans. Calm, reserved, beautiful, with a sort of family resemblance despite differences.
Which leads to an explanation of their governance.
Democratic, basically.
Right.
Representatives elected for integrity, not promises. Groups elect leaders, and 7 leaders choose the supreme leader, or king.
Interesting system. Then the conversation shifts again, back to Earth history, but way back.
To the continent of Mu and its capital, Savanasa, on a high plateau.
Home to an enormous pyramid, built with precisely cut stone using ultrasonic vibrations, quarried on Easter Island and elsewhere.
The people of Mu, it's claimed, had profound understanding of universal law. The pyramid wasn't just a structure.
It was a tool, capturing cosmic and terrestrial energies, a communication center.
For telepathic contact with other planets, other universes. Something Earthlings can no longer do, the text says.
They believe in Thiaooba, the spirit, and reincarnation, a highly organized civilization. 80 million people after 50,000 years.
They explored Earth in flying ships, flying saucers, and knew about the other races, including a regressed white race that had arrived earlier and settled Atlantis, but failed.
So Mu then colonized Atlantis.
Yes. But some white Atlanteans didn't like the new Mu government or religion and migrated.
To Northern Europe? Britain was connected then, apparently. And North Africa, using steam-powered sea vessels.
And in North Africa, they mixed with the existing black-yellow populations, creating new groups like Berbers and Tuaregs.
It's such a complex alternative timeline.
And then a personal connection is revealed. Thao tells the author her astral entity lived during Mu in a similar body.
And they were great friends back then.
Yes. And artists immortalized them. The giant statues on Easter Island are examples.
Wow. As another layer entirely. Then comes the psychosphere explanation.
This vibratory cocoon around every planet, spinning incredibly fast, recording everything.
But inaccessible to us now, which is why developing a time machine is so hard. You'd have to sync with its vibrations.
But a trained person, using their astral body, can access it. And the author is given an elixir to do just that.
So he lies down in a special bed in the Pyramid of Savansa, drinks the elixir.
The walls show scenes of Mu. He and his companions become like a gaseous mass, but still distinct individuals.
Communicating telepathically, they witness daily life in Mu. People meditating, the huge pyramid.
The palace, pathways with statues, people on horseback or riding strange dolphin-headed creatures.
Flying machines making a tolerable whistling sound. People walking or on silent flying platforms.
There's the covered market where goods are just free, abundant.
They visit the port, see sophisticated shipbuilding. It sounds incredibly advanced.
Then they witness the king's death. A giant white ball appears on the pyramid.
It explodes, and the crowd cries out, "Enjoy."
Yeah, death was viewed differently, apparently. A transition to be celebrated. A new king is crowned. More celebration.
But then the mood shifts. They witness a serious meeting, the king and advisors looking at seismograph data. Something's wrong.
The scene changes tonight. A deep rumbling sound starts.
People flee the palace, structures collapse. The king escapes on a flying platform towards the airport.
Chaos at the airport, people rushing for ships, and this continuous deafening thunder from the earth.
They get a view of the whole city undulating like waves, buildings collapsing, flames,
I mean,
screams.
explosions from deep underground. Huge chunks of the continent just plunge into the earth.
The ocean rushes in, the plateau sinks, whirlpools swallowing people and debris, utter destruction.
They glimpse some people escaping, see ships heading inland towards what's now Brazil,
And the author rests on the bridge of a sailing ship, passes through a man on deck.
and feels this jolt, this overwhelming love, recognition.
It was his own astral body in a previous life on that ship.
He's cautioned not to dwell there, brought back to the present, just as he hears a massive explosion to the west. Mu is gone.
What an experience. So after all that, Thiao asks him what he thinks of his stay.
And he reflects that the time travel felt like years. The purpose, Thiao says, was to show him true civilizations existed before ours.
And that our current civilization has taken a wrong turn. Decadent, distorted system.
The Thiaoouban's watch us closely, she says. They can live among us, or be present astrally. They influence leaders sometimes.
Like preventing Nazi Germany from getting the atomic bomb first.
But they view totalitarian regimes as a huge step backward for civilization.
And imposing one's will on another. Taking away free will. That's described as one of the greatest crimes.
They specifically mention the situation in South Africa at the time of writing as a crime against humanity. Racism itself is a crime.
So the author asks, okay, if you stopped Germany, why not stop everyone from getting nukes?
Good question. The answer comes back to universal law.
You have to let beings learn from their mistakes. Direct interference is forbidden beyond a point.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki, therefore, were the consequence of humanity's own choices and actions. They couldn't prevent it.
Helping Earth constructively is hard too, especially with money, because our whole system relies on it.
They can try to influence politicians positively, but it's like steering a ship. You need a good captain and a willing crew.
And violence, they stress, never brings lasting success. Look at Napoleon, Hitler.
The real solution lies in love and cultivating minds. They point to the 19th and early 20th centuries.
When great writers, musicians, philosophers flourished, maybe because there were fewer material distractions.
That's the suggestion, which contrasts sharply with their criticism of modern media.
Especially television constantly showing violence. Leaders and journalists have a responsibility they often ignore, except maybe at election time.
It's a strong critique. Then suddenly Thiao gets a call.
A telepathic summons from a great Thera. Her aura flares with energy. They have to leave immediately.
They fly off rapidly, and then they encounter someone new.
Archie, a small, squarish alien.
Yeah.
Colorful feather-like hair, red eyes, blue skin.
From Planet X, name withheld. He's pleased to meet the author, sorry he couldn't welcome him to his own planet.
Which sounds like another troubled place, a planet of sorrows.
Yeah, twice Earth's size, 15 billion people facing similar problems. Nuclear issues, dictators, crime, disease, money systems, religions. Depressingly familiar.
But Archie shares a hopeful story. How non-violent resistance on his planet successfully overcame a dictatorship.
And he emphasizes, spiritual evolution, not technology, is what allows progression to superior planets.
Physical bodies on lower planets like Earth and X are necessary for that growth.
Which is why beings like him can only stay on Thiaooba for 9 days any longer, and their physical bodies would die due to universal law.
Fascinating limitation. He also confirms some on his planet can see auras, though they're only slightly ahead of Earth in that.
Then he gets his own summons from the Thiaoura and has to leave abruptly. Hopes he was helpful.
And then the big reveal comes from the Thiaoura, the real reason the author was chosen.
He's a Suku.
Meaning his astral body has lived 81 lives already
Yeah.
in human physical bodies on different planets.
9 times 9, the number of the universe again. He's at the end of a major cycle.
Sukus sometimes return to lower planets like Earth for specific reasons. Thiao, by contrast, has lived 216 lives.
So to help the author understand reincarnation for his book, they plan another journey.
Back through his own past lives.
Yeah.
In the relaxation chamber again, with 3 theory.
The leader places fingers over his pineal gland.
And he sees himself as Siegfried, a drunkard, possibly involved in a woman's death, gets executed by axe. He feels pity, then relief.
Then another life. Ginolini, a tall, copper-blonde man chosen by Queen Labanola as her companion and successor.
He witnesses her wise judgment, feels pride at having been her, experiences her difficult childbirth.
Glimpses of 80 other lives, mostly modest ones. Then he returns to the present, The theory's smiling.
Quite the trip. Finally, it's time to go home.
Back to Earth, arriving at night in a heavy rainstorm. Sao puts up a force field around the landing spot.
And Thao offers one last explanation about her people's nature.
Their hermaphroditism is linked to being on a superior planet where everything, including all body types, physical, fluidic, etc., is superior, regenerable, even creatable.
The non-physical bodies influence the physical one.
Then some final warnings and advice for Earth. The danger of cartels oil, pharmaceuticals prioritizing profit over people.
Using advertising, politics, religion to maintain control. Eliminating great leaders like Martin Luther King or Gandhi who tried to help.
People need to stop being treated like fools, she says. It's absurd for a few financiers to control millions.
There's emphasis on environmental conservation too. Not just obvious damage, but fumes, emissions.
The greenhouse effect overheating Earth's core, chemically treated wastewater,
And noise pollution, described as highly noxious. It upsets electrons, unbalances the physical body.
because the astral body is made of billions of electrons, each a tiny memory bank, communicating with the higher self via the brain.
Noise directly attacks these astral electrons, creating parasites, causing damage even if the brain adapts.
It's presented as far worse than exhaust fumes because noise hits the astral body while fumes hit the physical.
That's a really interesting perspective on noise.
Definitely. Then, about the book itself. The 3-year delay before release was intentional. The world is more ready now, supposedly.
Reactions varied. Disbelief but emotional impact, conviction it's true, or feeling they knew it already.
The advice is to read it at least 3 times. And it's stressed again. This is not science fiction.
Readers should approach it objectively, positively, to get the spiritual reward.
And a crucial warning. Don't turn the author into a new Christ or guru. Don't start a new religion.
The greatest temple is within yourself. Direct communication with the Creator is possible through meditation and the higher self.
No need for external temples, churches, ashrams. The Creator put everything needed inside each person.
For practical change, they highlight inertia as a powerful non-violent weapon, like Gandhi used.
Archie's planet used broken-down vehicles in protest. For listeners, say in Australia, practical advice is given.
Organize, lease land, create self-sufficient communal farms or counties. Make your own rules, but respect national laws. Include fun stuff too. Discos, libraries.
But remember, religion and politics are presented as major societal problems, and ultimately, whatever you believe.
It doesn't change what the Great Spirit, God the Creator, established.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really covered a lot. This hidden history, the astral body spirituality, the cycles of danger like materialism and atomic threats.
And this potential for a completely different way of living focused inward.
Some truly startling ideas came up, didn't they? The sheer age of potential civilizations, the focus on the non-physical, the specific warnings.
It definitely gives you a different lens to view our current world, our past, our future.
So the final question for you listening now, given all this, how might your own understanding shift?
What thoughts are bubbling up about spirituality, materialism, our planet's path?
Those are the takeaways to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Absolutely. And please, if you have sources you think need this kind of exploration, send them our way. We're always ready for the next deep dive.